Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Belgrade Photo Month live conversations. Today, we are going to talk with a very special photographer. He's Serbian. He's for more than 40 years living in England. And well, what can I say? Well, let me say for introduction, for the people who don't follow Belgrade Photo Month, who don't follow the festival, I will say that Belgrade Photo Month is a festival that we are always including different kinds of photography, different types of photography. And from the first edition or the second, we always included any kind of music photography exhibition. The last year we had an exhibition with three very young and very talented photographers, Anastasia Asia, Jovana Milovanovic, and Milica Jetkovic. It was, as usual, an amazing opening, a lovely exhibition. The year before, we had also one very special exhibition. We walked through the history of the photography. Sorry, we walked through the history of the rock in Yugoslavia. It means from 60s to 90s, through the album covers where the photography it was important. This exhibition was very nice one, very special, very successful. Was curated by Ružica Frehovac. It was supported by Radio Belgrade 202 or 2. Sorry, Radio Belgrade 2, 3. Radio Belgrade in any case. And but also we had the exhibition by the rock photographers, let's say group that they call Rock Momenti. They are the members. There are three members. Is Ana Maria Badian. Sorry, it's a bit difficult for me. Nemanja Djordjevic and Stanislav Milojkovic. And still the year before, we had another exhibition by Alexander Zec. It means we have a compromise with the photography and we have a compromise with rock, of course. We need fun. Well, we're going now to Brian Rasic. Like I said before, we can say that he's Serbian or he's British because 40 years there. Probably he's more British now. Well, the point is, yes, he has been working in the photography, the rock photography scene for the last 40 years in the top level. He has been the official photographer for David Bowie, for the Rolling Stones, for Paul McCartney, for David Gilmour, for Spandau Ballet. He shot almost everybody who we can imagine, including Amy Winehouse, the last concert that she did in Belgrade. And today we are going to talk with him, and he will talk to us about his experience through probably more than 5,000 concerts. That is not an easy thing. Then now I'm going to invite him to join us. And well, Brian, welcome. Welcome to our conversation.
Hello.
How are you? Are you fine?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, at first I want to say thank you very much to accept this invitation.
Oh, we are on, are we?
Yes, we are.
Well, let me say first, thank you for inviting me, and hello to the ones who are listening.
Okay. Well, today we are going to talk about you, your work, your experience with the rock music and your photo cameras. I already introduced that you have been living for quite long in UK. I mentioned because I read somewhere that you estimate more or less that you has been shooting, I understand, in more or less 5,000 concerts, gigs. What is not a small number it's not a small number.
Yeah, maybe even more. But I wouldn't really know. But you know, there was a time when I was kind of trying to figure out, and I think it's even more than 5,000. The reason why is in the beginning, I would even do like 2, 3 different artists in one night, you know.
Okay.
I mean, if John Cale is playing at one place and I never saw him, and there's somebody else playing at the other, I would just go take the pictures and run. You know, sometimes they start different times and so on.
Okay, let me ask you, are you going anytime to a concert without camera, just for enjoying?
Sorry?
Are you going anytime to enjoy a concert without a camera, just for the pleasure of
To be honest with you, yes. There were there were occasional times when, well, basically, I think a majority of times I would shoot the usual 2, 3 songs, because from the 80s, there was a time when we could stay longer in a pit, but early 80s, this change came, which was like almost my name and surname, first 3, no flash, you know.
Yeah.
That started the beginning of the 80s, and that's when I sort of started. Basically, I would shoot the first 3 songs, and then almost every place, wherever I was going to do the concert, my late friend Sasha Stojanovic, the journalist, would be at the particular place, and I would just go there and join him. There was no problem about taking your camera and things like that. Obviously, things changed, because later on, you couldn't go in with your camera, you had to leave your camera. And then with those 9/11, they wouldn't take your camera because it's a bomb, you know. So things were getting gradually difficult. But yes, I mean, you know, I would sort of, especially first, I would say 10, 15, 20 years, I would stay at the gigs, you know. Okay. So usually, you know, I missed maybe 5 numbers and then I enjoyed the gig.
Okay. Let me ask you, how it came that you start with photography? How you take the first camera? What moved you to do it?
Well, that obviously happened in Belgrade. Basically, since I was a young boy, I mean, I was into photography because there was this Kiev Russian camera around, you know, my father's camera, and, you know, I kind of starting taking pictures, you know. Obviously, in the beginning, it was girlfriends, you know, things like that. And I was even following the, you know, arty-farty kind of way, you know, just doing all kind of different things, thinking, you know, I'm doing something, well, learning, so to speak. And what happened basically is parallel with that, I would say even more so, I was really into music, but just listening and enjoying it. I mean, I had friends who were playing. I never played no instrument in my life. So I loved music. I was collecting records, you know, and so on. And basically, I was fairly confident. I remember when, you know, in the early 70s, some famous bands started coming to Belgrade, like Deep Purple, Jethro Tull. Actually, the bands that I really enjoyed at the time, you know. And Ike and Tina Turner, I remember, you know. And basically, for me, it was almost like normal. It was like a challenge. Okay, I'm going to see the gig, meaning I bought a ticket, and I'm going to take my camera in, you know. And really difficult to explain, but it was almost like normal. The only problem was, even though it wasn't such a problem back then, you know, I'm getting the camera inside, you know, times were different. And I could get my camera, the lights go off, and I ran. It was important to have a ticket for the stalls, you know, in because if you are on a side, then it's difficult to get because of the prices of the ticket of it. So I would always go for the more expensive ticket, because that would allow me, when the lights go down, just to run at the front of a stage. Nobody asked no questions, you know. I remember seeing like a couple of guys there, I suppose professionals, you know, covering the gig and so on. And I would just stay there and shoot, you know, one roll of film. It was a matter of money as well. So you wait for your pictures, you take the picture. Of course, none of them, not all of them were good, but, you know, I started sort of making those pictures and making prints for me and my friends who went to see the gig. And we were very happy, you know. It wasn't anything but that, you know, just the pure joy of music and my photography, and really big pleasure that I could, you know, make those prints and give it to my mates just as a souvenir. We've been there, we saw that, that's it. And of course I was always the closest to the artist and stage, you know. That's how it started, really.
They blocked the space for you to take the best position.
Yeah.
Let me
You
ask
see,
you, did you shot only in Belgrade, or you move also around Yugoslavia anytime, following any band?
you know, I mean, I remember going to Zagreb. That's before I became what I am. I remember going to Zagreb really, and I did some pictures of the Stones in 1976, for instance. It was the first, the first time they came to Yugoslavia. You know, they played 2 concerts in Zagreb, and I saw one. And again, I had the ticket for the stalls, meaning that, you know, I've run all the way to the second row, and I did some pictures. You know, I just had obviously 50mm lens, you know, just a normal lens that I can borrow. I didn't even have my camera, you know, my own camera at the time. And so I remember going, to Zagreb to see Joan Arma Trading. I think I missed the Wings, unfortunately, but I've seen a few gigs in Zagreb as well. You know, that's where they were coming usually. Some would go to Ljubljana, I suppose, but Ljubljana and me, that started later on in the 80s when I would come from London to Belgrade. And if I'm here, they say, oh, there's, you know, Boomtown Rats playing Zagreb, then Human League is playing Ljubljana. Do you want to come with us? Yeah, you know, so I would go there and shoot the picture. But on my own, as an amateur, I think maybe Zagreb a couple of times, and the rest was Belgrade.
Let me ask you, in that period when you were going to the gigs and taking the photos and everything, when you were still in Belgrade, in Yugoslavia, did you feel any time that your work will be professionally photographed for concerts? You wish it probably, but you imagine it? Did you imagine what you did after?
Not at all, David. Not at all. Not at all. Never had the slightest idea what is going to happen. As a matter of fact, I never even thought about it. You know, everything just happened because I don't know. There was something really driving me. I suppose. You see, I mean, to jump to London. I mean, when I got to London, I found myself in a situation where, like, every night there was somebody that I like was playing there. And I started buying tickets, and I started sort of trying to do the same thing as in Belgrade, soon to realize it's not really the same. You know, the regulations were a bit different. So you couldn't just go there with the camera, you know, as long as you had some decent camera, they didn't like it, you know. But of course, it wasn't nowhere near as bad as it's now. And what basically happened, you know, that's, I guess, I don't know where I come from. I suppose it's part of my persona in a way. I was thinking, these tickets are very expensive, and I'm not doing much of anything. I'm not even taking pictures. Of course, it was great to see ZZ Top, I don't know, Eric Clapton, and you know, first of all, you see them, but I kind of wanted to do more, you know, and that's how I came to the idea. Maybe I can say I'm a photographer, and I get into the gigs for free. And that was the idea.
Okay.
I started phoning up the record companies, telling them, my name is blah, 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 and I come from Yugoslavia. I work for this jukebox music magazine. Could I possibly get a pass, for the Clash? We're playing at Hammersmith Ballet. And the response was amazing.
Let me ask you, it was true? You were working for this magazine, no?
No, I was lying.
Okay.
And I started getting the passes, you see. But as they say, you can't really lie for a long time. Basically what happened, and this was actually the crossroad of my career. It was 1980. I can't tell you exactly when, and I would say maybe middle of 1980. I was in London, and I did a few gigs purely on, telling them, as I said. And then I realized that Led Zeppelin are playing Europe only in 1980. They played the infamous Nebworth gig year before at Nebworth, which is not far away from London. It was a huge concert. And the following year in 1980, when basically I was in 79 in London, but I kind of counted from 1980, because I was there for Christmas, before in the summer, then got back to Belgrade, then and ended up, there for Christmas. And so it's like 1980. Anyway, so basically, I thought, bloody hell, Brussels is not far away. I might as well go to Brussels to do the Led Zeppelin, And I phoned up Atlantic Records, and I told them the same story. And oops, there was something new for me. The guy, I remember his name, Daniel, he was a Swiss guy, the press officer, who told me, I don't have a problem. I'll sort you out for a pass, but can you please tell your magazine to send me a telefax that you work for them? As it happened, he actually knew about jukebox, and he knew one photographer, my late friend Vican Vicanovic, who's quite famous here, even though he only was covering music in the beginning, like 1980s, but he was more like, he was the president's photographer. We're talking Milosevic, he was his photographer. He was shooting a lot of politicians, and he was working for Vjesnik from Zagreb. It was one country, so it didn't make much difference. And Vican, that I obviously knew of, but I never knew, Vican, he said, I know Vican, he did ABBA or something. I said, oh yeah, sure, blah, blah. And then I got myself basically in trouble. But I did not give up, So to cut the story short, I phoned up the magazine and I told them, guys, my name is blah, blah, blah. And if you send a fax to the Atlantic Records, telling them that I'm doing the pictures for you of Led Zeppelin, I'll send you the pictures of Led Zeppelin. I promise. And they were thinking like, who's this guy? It was funny. Later on, I made really nice friends with a lot of people in the magazine. And you said, who is this guy for? I was shooting Led Zeppelin. It wasn't like normal, so to speak, And, but they did send the fax, and I went to Brussels and I did the pictures, and I did send the pictures, and I even had the poster in a magazine, and that. And then they asked me, did you do any other concerts? Oh, many, like what? I said, well, the Clash, the other Clash. Can you write a few words? I said, yeah. So I wrote my first article and sent the picture, and they published it. Then they asked for more. Then I remember that year I went to Nebworth with Santana, Mike Caulfield, Lindisfarne. It was a big open air. And I think Beach Boys were headlining. The last ever gig, the original lineup of Beach Boys, with the guy the drummer who died soon after. And, I took the pictures and I wrote an, big article. They published everything. And that was it. And you see, the rest was fairly easy because they sent me the magazine. I show it to the people. I say, well, nice one. They start believing. They start, basically, you gain trust. And from there onwards, it was, I would like to mention that I was a part of international department. I was working in international department because, which was the advantage, because international department were covering the whole world, Back in the day, we were talking about United States, Germany, and Japan as the biggest markets in the world. UK was nothing, as a market. UK is always important for the Stones, the Beatles, and it will always be a legendary place. But comes to the business, which is the other side of this, when I soon started having clients in Japan and in Germany, and that was more important. And we were getting freebies, a lot of, concerts, but T-shirts, LPs, album records, and everything. So it was really wonderful time. 80s were fantastic.
That was the first half of the 80s. It means the up to 85, 85, 86, something like this?
No, I'm talking very early 80s, from 1980, if you want,
Okay,
from 1980. I was shooting the bed, but then it was around the mid 1980s, just before the summer festivals, because I remember I went to Reading, wrote about the Reading. Funnily enough, my article with my photographs from the Reading Festival 1980 was chosen one of the best articles by the readers of Jukebox, one of the best articles in the year, the readers poll that they were doing. So that was strange, because I suppose, I'm not a writer, but I can write. And the way I was writing was like a fan. I wouldn't write about things that I'm not confident and I don't like, maybe, which is not professional, obviously. Journalists are supposed to cover whatever, yeah. But I said, okay, I can write things, but only what I like, and that's why I suppose people could feel what I was writing, and they enjoyed it, But soon after, I kind of gave up because I met with Sasha, and then it was two of us. He was doing interviews, I was taking pictures, or the concerts, and then we became the Terrible Two, as they used to call us. Terrible Two, but that everybody loved us. That was a funny nickname. Oh, there's the Terrible Two. But they loved us. Most of the record company, we loved them too. Beautiful times. There was much more money, nice people, and everything was lasting until I think mid 90s, when the big corporations started buying the record companies, and eventually it was like a couple of record companies. Before it was many more. And we had a connection in quite a lot of them, and it was, but that basically gave me the kickstart for the other things. By then, when things were kind of going bad with the international department, they actually closed international departments. I think by the end of 1990, it was all gone because they didn't care. And by then, obviously, I knew the PR people of the certain bands, and I was sort of on my feet, so it wasn't a problem. The only thing is that I always say the international departments is something really beautiful, because they had more. If you're English press, there was a Q magazine. There was maybe not even Q. At that time, there's several magazines and papers, NME, Melody Maker, Sounds, that's it. you know, so their budgets were not big because, but, you know, international, as I said, you know, you're talking the world where, you know, the proper business was happening back then. So, you know, it was kind of a loss, but I enjoyed it. You know, I met people from UK press, made good friends, and, you know, just carry on my work.
Well, like you say in the beginning, it was like flowing. The things were flowing somehow.
Yeah, you know, there was no, there's, you know, sometimes people ask me, you know, is there something, I don't know, interesting? I say, I don't know, you know, it's like, I don't have any sad stories or bad stories. Everything was just happening. It's almost like I was just following my path, and it was all right. You know, I never had problems.
Let me
And
ask
then
you.
people ask, yeah, you know, people would, some kids would ask me, can I do that today? I'll say, I'm afraid, you know, today is a different game. You know? Not only today, but really in 90s, everything changed. But I had the kind of 10 years of experience, and I've been recognized and kind of known, and, you know, things just caught up. But really, I mean, things are just going from bad to worse from then on,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I can't say that because I was there, you know, for decades in a business, you know, so. And you know what else, David? I remember the 80s. It was like great. But then you meet with the people who were in the 70s and tell them, you think this is great? Mate, 70s. And of course, the 60s, the best. You know why? Nobody knew nothing. There was so much money. They didn't know what to do with the money. You know, you must have heard the stories, you know. They were coming back from America, bands and managers with suitcases full of dollars. Nobody would check on you. They didn't know what to do with the money. There was so much money, you know. So 60s were the best, 70s, 80s, it already started going down. But this is the story, the side that I know. It's nothing to do with the music. It's the business side that I was lucky to sort of to learn about. That's why I can say these things, you know.
Yeah. You like I think you mentioned you arrived to London in '79, and let me say when you arrived there, in any moment you had to do a parallel job or something like a lot of people have to do now.
I didn't understand to do.
Yeah, when you moved to London, okay,
Yeah.
before to start to make work for jukebox and this kind of professional works, did you
Yeah.
have to work something like a waiter or you?
Oh, yeah. I did actually. I had a cousin over there who sort of were not really the best of mates, but you know, he was helpful every now and then if I sort of ask him for things. And he said, you know, if you want, I can get you a job, you make some money, blah, blah, blah. And I started working as a barman. I was working at it's called a Saddle Place, I think, just next to the Bond Street Tube Station. There's a little alley off it. And there was a nightclub actually called Rheingold, obviously a German owner. And over there was this guy, Freddy, who was the manager. He was an Austrian guy, and he was very good with my cousin, you know. So when my cousin suggested me, he was more than thankful. You see, people, I mean, that is long gone because I had some mates, barmen, but that's a different story. Barmen could make so much money back in the day, you know, and then they introduced the electronic tills where you had to put everything and that was gone. Before then, it was mental.
With money again.
It was mental. Mind you, the way when I was working as a barman, I know the guy who was sort of taking money. I never did because it wasn't possible. You see, people would come and work as a barman or whatever, and disappear after 1 month because they were doing a monthly, you know, thing about. I can't believe that is. You see, and I put it on a silent. But
Litus is calling.
obviously, I apologize. You know, I apologize.
Oh,
I mean, I had to switch it off. I have to switch it off because I put it on a silent, but it's ringing. It's okay now. I'm sorry. Anyway, so basically, I wasn't taking money, but I was making some decent money. And Freddie was very happy with me. And, you know, all the girls like me, which was a bonus. And so, but what was basically happening? I was a good barman. He told me things, and you know, the main there was some woman called Helen. Apparently, she was shagging the owner. You know, that German guy, Czech girl Helen, real bitch. But she liked me so much, and she was the best friend. You know, and she taught me a lot of things, and. You know, what to do when it comes to the girls and stuff. And I was really getting into it, and it was really fine. But every now and then I would come to, and I think I was there for a couple of months or maybe 3 months. I don't even know. And I was working only Fridays and Saturday, Thursday sometimes when it's busy, you know, when they need more help. And the thing is that I asked Freddie, the manager, Freddie, you know, I'm like a photographer. There's Eric Clapton, Hammersmith Odeon, you know, do you mind if I take a night off? And he'll say, yeah, of course, you know, no worries. And after a few times, me asking for a free night off, Freddie came to me and he said something like this. He said, Bruno, he called me Bruno for some reason, I don't know. he said, Bruno, I'll tell you something. If you stay here with me, you're going to be a good barman, and I'll make sure that, you know, you prosper in your business and everything. I need you. Everybody likes you. Girls likes you. You can make good money, and I'll do, you know, everything to help you. I know Peter, you know, you're my guy, but please don't ask me for nights off on Saturday night when I really need you. So you have to make your mind up.
Yeah.
Freddie asked me, and I said, okay, Freddie, I'm not a barman.
Okay.
I thank you so much. He was really, really lovely guy, you know, he really liked me a lot, and God knows, you know, what would happen if I went that way, but I knew that's not me, you know. So I said thank you, and I left, and I'm quite happy I did.
Then, until then, you were shooting concerts from the line that you have, I suppose, like always, like they do still today, 3 songs, whatever.
Yeah.
How it happens, and with who was the first time that you cross this line and you go probably to the off stage, or you make a tour with somebody? How was this moment?
Well, you know, that area where the photographers are, we call the pit, you know. Pit is the restricted area between in between the public and obviously the stage. Yeah, there is barrier that they let us in and they take us out, and basically, well, that's if everything is perfect. But also what you can experience, you come and there's no pit. That means you have to shoot from wherever you can, and that can be difficult and so on, right? But to answer your question, how did it happen? How did it happen? I don't really, you know, I can't remember all the details, but things were just happening. I was hungry and I just wanted to shoot as much as possible. And, you know, I have to say, you know, considering that today we have a digital photography, I mean, you know, everything that I was doing, I would do. In the beginning, I was doing black and white and color. Obviously, it was transparencies back then. Diapositive, yeah? And I was shooting black and white film, and that's why I have quite a big, a nice catalog of black and white pictures, which was my first love, you know, black and white picture. But then they explained to me that you have to shoot the color, you know, if you want to make money. You know, people want color, and basically, what I'm trying to say is like everything that I ever did was probably on 2 rolls of film. You know, roll of film was 36 shots, and for the 3 numbers, you have to think, wait for your good picture, and you know. It was a different, totally different approach, you know, and that's what basically made the difference between photographers, I would say. You know, it was a complex thing. Not only you have to take good pictures, but you know how you take the pictures. You know, you have to change the film. It was, you know, I'm talking about that because there's a lot of people who probably don't even know what I'm talking about. You know, but. I mean, you know, the younger people, with all respect, of course. So I'm very happy and proud that actually I learned my trade as an analog photographer. You know, imagine, David, today, you give even to a professional photographer who is, let's say, 25, 30 years old, you give him camera with the film. Yeah, what the hell would they do? You know, you can't look, you know, because that includes myself. You know, you take the shot, boom, you look at the camera. Where do you look? Yeah, there's nothing, you know, and obviously, you know, that was a tremendous help when I changed to digital. And I only changed to digital because I had to, you know. No, of course, it's not, I had to, because that was the business, you know.
Talking about cameras, which was your favorite lens?
Well, my lenses usually were, I mean, there's 70 to 200. Actually, Nikon, I think, had 80 to 200 in the beginning, but it's usually 70 to 2. And there's 35-70. Those 2 zoom lenses, I don't think I had the Nikon lens 80 to 200, but the rest I had 35mm, 28 and 50, you know. And of course, being a photographer, I had the 85 for the portraits, and
yes, but when you are there in the stage, in front of the stage, you know.
I love those zoom lenses, to be honest with you. I mean, because they're very expensive and they're good quality. Of course, you know, we can argue that you know, when you have I don't know, 50mm 1.4 or 1.2 or 35mm 2.8, you know, it's a different game. But I kind of really like working with those zoom lenses. In the beginning, as I said, I had many more lenses, but when you're working and there's no time, even if there's time, if you're at Glastonbury, for instance, and it's pissing down, and I had all these lenses, you know, around me, to change the lens, the rain got in, you know, you just have 2 bodies, 2 lenses. That's it. Shoot. No time for nothing else, you know, because time is precious. And I think basically, there must be more reasons, but I feel confident with those 2 lenses. And I would always have my beautiful 17 to 24, which is really fantastic wide lens. And that's it. I mean, and obviously I have a 300, you know, I need 300, and I have teleconverter, if I need something else. For everything else I don't want to know about, or I'm there with my 500, not mine, but rented one. And but
Yeah.
you know, that's 17, 24, 35, 70, 70, 200 plus 3. And that's all I care about and I need for what I do.
Then, like I mentioned before, how was when when you cross the line of the pit and you start to meet the artists in person to shot them off the stage, or when you share a tour with them? How was this? Which was the first band with who you travel somehow?
First, that's a difficult question. I mean, because at the end of the day, it always comes to the Rolling Stones and, you know, all these big guys. You know, the thing is, like I was saying in the beginning, they didn't even care if you stay for the whole gig and shoot, you know. But I think, especially in the beginning, maybe even 10 years or so, I was just shooting for those foreign magazines, you know, and if I was getting closer, I didn't even need, you know, the funny thing is that you get so used to this first 3 no flash that if they say 5, you get kind of confused. What are you going to do? Or maybe there is a particular reason what they're doing on stage, you know. It's really strange because, you know, you kind of know what you're doing, what to expect, and what is going to happen within that time. When you work more open, then you have to think, and sometimes I like even to see the show before I shoot it and things. But in all honesty, I can't really remember. I mean, I shot so many gigs with some people. I was shooting more. Really, there were a lot of bands who told me I can, you know, stay there. Then they want some pictures. You give them pictures and so on, you know. Because I started meeting these people for the interviews that Sasha was doing, you know. And so I started meeting them off stage and, you know, made some friends. And it's totally confused. You know, I'm thinking Azad. I have so many beautiful stories with Azad. And you know, it's a reggae London reggae band, and I work with them. What is it called? It doesn't matter. It's difficult, you know. 40 years, a long time, but it's not that I forgot. It just when you ask me a certain question, I have to think too much. It's not good. But you know, the really the big ones like the Stones. You see, I mean, I only started. I was shooting the Stones for many years, but really to start working with them, it was 2006. It wasn't that long ago. It takes a long time to get there. Sometimes you never get there. It's just pure luck, I suppose, and me knowing, oh look, the Rolling Stones with me. Oh, it's a souvenir from Chicago, '99, Bridges to Babylon tour. You know,
Yes.
you buy that and you can wave, but you can sit on it. It's you know, on those plastic seats, so it's
Yes.
more comfortable. And I thought it's nice, and
This is
I bought
something
it.
like for me, it's like a super American souvenir.
Yeah. Well, I shot Stones in America quite a few times, you know, so I like to buy things, you know. Later on, I was even getting things for free, thanks God, but, you know, I spend a lot of money as well. As a fan, you know.
Well,
Of
you
course,
were making money something somehow means it's
yeah,
also
yeah. Well, you know, in the beginning, we would go to America on our own initiative. You know, the point was you can shoot the Stones. I sought out that I can shoot the Stones. Then you have to buy a ticket. You have to stay somewhere. It's a lot of money, you know. But my agency was very helpful, you know, because I was doing quite all right. So we would share the expenses. Because you see, I mean, I was on 50-50 with my agency comes to the sale of pictures. So they make good money. Well, I suppose they make good money for me too. So if I'm going, say, to the States to shoot the Stones, they would accept that they pay 50% of my expenses, which is very helpful. It's very helpful, meaning, I never went for like food and things like that, just the ticket and the hotel. That's important. That's the biggest expense anyway, for the flight, I mean,
Yes.
So I was lucky. Rex Features was supporting me because they believe in me, and I think they've done quite good with me, and me with them, of course, because it's 50-50.
Of course.
There's no 50-50 now, nobody gives you 50-50. I still have 50-50, but that's because I said I'm not changing my agency unless you give me 50-50 when I went to get it.
That is something that I wanted to ask you, because you mentioned before how many things changed in that period, of course, because everything changed. And
Yeah.
We can talk about so many things changed in the world of the photography and the music in parallel life. But like you mentioned now, how it changed, I suppose that a lot from the time when you were working with Rex and now with Getty.
Mm.
Because of course everything changed. It's not just that Getty they're different than others. It means it's just the world it changed. The policies of everything it changed.
Do you want me to tell you my personal opinion of the difference between Getty and Rex, so to speak? Yeah.
I mean, and probably we are yes, but probably we are talking about the difference in how we work in general before and today. It means probably no, it's not something specific.
Yes, I think what I'm going to tell you, you can really put in perspective of more than what I'm talking about, Well, basically with Rex, for a starter, was honestly like my family, It was late Frank Selby and his wife Elizabeth. They sort of started the agency back in mid 50s, and it was the first independent agency in UK, and it grew up to be one of the biggest British agencies, if not the biggest. They were they knew the business because they were dealing with Fleet Street papers. They were making prints, taking them every morning over there. Obviously, that's before my time, but I know the stories. And they've been very much a loved agency, but by most of the papers and magazines, The interesting thing about Rex is that they're a family business run by, like I said, Frank and Elizabeth, and later on taken by their youngest son, John Selby. Frank Selby, who is sort of oldest son. I mean, I love Mike to bits, but he's different kind of character. I think John is more for a business side, And so it was John, Mike, and Sue. Bless her, Sue was there, or she's the youngest, the girl. But I don't think she was just there because she was family, I guess. Sue is very good, and probably I'm even mistaken. She must have been doing something, but the business was run by Frank, Elizabeth, and John. Okay, and Mike a little bit, yeah. And that is you see, I remember my children when they were kids, they were coming for Christmas parties, and it was only for the staff people. I was never staff. I was always freelance all my life, but they always invited me. And, Frank is from Budapest. He's a Hungarian Jew, and they met during the Second World War. Elizabeth, they have lovely stories behind them. And Frank was living for 100 years. He made 100 years. He received the birthday card from Queen, because she always
I know.
She sends to everybody who makes 100 years, she sends a personal greeting card, you know, which is lovely, I think. And, you know, and he died soon after. Frank was, I think, very, very special. And I even kind of feel emotional even when I speak to you. You know, when they were celebrating 50 years of the agency, there, they made 3-day parties. You know, one was for UK, one was for the from their clients from around the world, and that's I remember meeting people from Australia. You're Brian. Oh, I've been selling your pictures for 20 years now. It's nice to meet you. You know, all the partners from around the world came, and I remember on the white walls where the party was going on, there were some quotes. For instance, from David Redfern, late photographer, he was original with Rex, and then he went with the Beatles on the Magical Mystery Tour. And the story says that he bought a very nice car afterwards and basically formed his own agency, Redfern's famous agency, owned by Getty, of course, now. He's also, he passed away. David was a great guy. I mean, he shot all these big, big names like that I could never see, like Jimi Hendrix, and he was into jazz as well. He shot great jazz stuff. And, you know, there was a quote on the wall by David Redfern, by famous Richard Young, who is still with us, a good friend of mine, the most famous probably. They call him paparazzi, but Richard is not paparazzi. They call him, you know, when somebody's there and everybody knows it. So they post him. It doesn't chase people, but it's called paparazzi because it's snapshots, you know. And Richard is getting on. He's getting old. I see his pictures, and but bless him. He's a good ally always. He's a nasty character, you know, comes as a photographer. He's like, you know, but for some reason always liked me, and we were always good, and I love him to bits. And it was my quote there as well, to my surprise. They asked me to, so they printed on the wall, you know, my quote. And so, you know, I knew that there's always respect for me. Personal, but I was making good business for them, you know.
If not,
you know, I remember in a good days. That is, I don't remember, but you know, when I was on the peak, I remember Mike coming to and said, "Brian, you're making more money than me," or something like, "You're making as much as me." I said, "No, Mike, you are wrong. I'm making twice as much as you, but I'm only getting as much as you." Because you see, when you're on 50% is only for the UK, basically. In the world, everybody has to make some money. So with the partners, they take their percentage, Rex takes their percentage, and I get my percentage. And usually that goes like 33% each way, right? So I was trying to tell him, and he said, "Well, you're right." He said, "I make much more money with my pictures. I'm only getting as much as you, but the others is going to the other people." I said, "Yeah, you're right." You know, so I became a fairly good earner for the agency, you know, and they respected that. They respected that, of course. But I really have to point out that they like me as a person. They knew that I'm Serb. They have some kind of respect even for my nationality, if you want. Maybe because they're Hungarians, Jews. I don't know, you know, but I always had a nice respect from them. And then the business was, I introduced almost music to them. Their staff photographers, Niels Jorgensen, also good friend, many years staff photographer. They would send Niels in the evening to shoot the gigs. And obviously, you know, you have to have a break sometimes, you know, you work all day, you go to the gig. So he didn't want to do that. And when I brought them back in 1983, I think first a lot of my pictures, they saw in me somebody who can do that, even though nobody believed that that can be money. Music, money, pictures, not really. And I proved them wrong. And they're very grateful for that, you know, very grateful. But I say that with respect to the agent, because they were really good. They were respected, and they had the good prizes, and, you know, and when I say good prizes, they were not cheap. They had the respect. They knew what they can charge, that everybody's happy, you know. It was established for many years, and you know, these people, they like to deal with the same people. And the funny thing is, I'm just going to cross over to world when they were making magazines in digital. David, believe me, I remember every morning, Sarah and Mike would go to Hello Magazine, to all these big ones with, you know, loads of prints. Prints. They bought a printer, professional printer, which was in a sort of a glass cage, which is, I think it was 700,000 pounds, which was machine. It was like doing printing all the time, because even because of the new technology, you know, everybody loved to see those pictures, to put them there, not in a computer. And then later on, obviously, the youngsters came and things became not. But the older people who were working, they loved Rex getting, you know, the bad part of it is that later on, not only me, a lot of us found that they're selling our pictures on internet.
Okay.
Because those prints, when they use the prints for printing, yeah, they put them on a side, somebody takes them somewhere, somebody was obviously nicking it, you know, and later on selling it, you know. So people are buying my prints for nothing, really, you know, just somebody was making some money and things like that. But
and then now with Getty?
well, Getty is a corporate agency, and that says it all. You know.
21st century.
With Getty, I mean, I speak with respect, obviously. With Getty, you're just one of many, really. I mean, everything that I gained with Rex, I never, ever got in at Getty. Yes, when they approached me, to my surprise, they knew a lot about me, meaning about my work. And they're very sort of, very nice, you know, about my work. And they wanted me there, obviously, for my work, not because of me, you know. Yeah. And they're very clear about that. And I made decision. Because Rex originally was sold to Getty, you know.
Okay.
And that was a tragic situation, because I remained with Rex for as long as they did not sell themselves to Getty. But what happened, basically, Getty, I mean, I learned that because we are very unhappy with the, you know, management, with all these lovely people I was telling you about. We are not very happy. And then we learned that actually, you know, they say you put the golden cuffs when you do the business, you know. You cuff yourself, no talk about it until the certain point. So no Selby family could tell us nothing about that they're selling. Because it was forbidden by law. And one day, I wasn't in the office because I was only coming to the office when I want to. They say that one day, Getty people came in like Gestapo almost, you know, and say, "Hi guys, from now on, you're Getty." And everybody was like, "What?" And that was it. But something happened. What happened is that there is a lobby called Ministry of Fair Trade in Britain. I suppose in every country, you know, Ministry of Fair Trade. And Ministry of Fair Trade didn't allow that merge to happen.
Oh, wow.
Because Getty would be completely, you know, they would completely take the British photography under their brolly, you know, because they bought Redfairs, they bought, I don't know, everybody really. And they did not let that happen. And that basically was, I mean, I had the meetings with Getty, everything, you know, they told me the idea, how they're going to deal with my stuff and everything when the merge happened, you know. And then this came as a shock. Wow. And I didn't really know whether to be happy or not, you know. But soon after, and obviously I stayed with Rex, but soon after, there was a rumor, because obviously, you know, later I spoke to John and he told me they wanted to, you know, obviously Frank and Elizabeth getting old, they didn't want to work. And, you know, these guys, they wanted to go away to Australia. John's wife, Sharon, is from Australia. Sheila is from Australia. And, you know, they just wanted to get rid of the business, basically, you know, and they were trying to make the best for them, which is understandable, you know. And then eventually they sold to Shutterstock. And before that happened, Getty approached me individually. And they offered me a deal. And I was very lucky, you know, because I had good friends at Rex, because, you know, the law is a very funny thing. You know, for instance, today, if I want to leave Getty, they have a lot of they have a lot of stuff that I have on digital as well. Everything digital I gave them, I have. But they were also scanning, because my archive is with them, and they keep scanning my pictures. I would not be able to take none of the pictures that they scanned. It's not possible. It's either I tell them, you know, I don't want you to sell my pictures, or I can tell them, okay, you can only sell those pictures that you scanned, but they would not give it to me, or they just tell me off, and, you know, but they would not give me the pictures. And I've done a naughty thing, thankfully, to my friends, you know. Before I left Rex, I had every scanned picture on a hard drive from Rex. Yeah. Of course, Rex stopped me, because at that time, when I left Rex, Selby's were not really there anymore. They were, but they were not. There was a different director and so on. And they were very nice to me. I was leaving, but basically they were trying to fuck me up any which way they could, you know. It's just, you can't do this, you can't do that. And they put a veto on me for 1 month, that I can't join Getty before 1 month goes, since the day when I told them that I'm leaving. But it was good, because my hard drive went to Seattle, and they took almost 100,000 of my images. So in 1 month, when basically I could start trading, I had like 80,000 pictures on Getty site, which is a big thing. Without that, it wouldn't mean much, you know. This they would scan, but they have so many photographers, and you're not the priority, you know. They're big agency where you're just one of many, and there's no personal touch that I was used to. Is different. I mean, that's how everybody works today, you know. But it's definitely not as good as you know, when you're with a smaller agency that is really respectful and big, but small. Yeah. Independent is the word. Corporate agencies. Yeah. Yes, I know you know, the main guys, I met them at least once. There are parties, they invite us. We mingle, we see, but nobody gives a shit, really. I mean, you know, just being polite. And they can't. I mean, I'm not even blaming them. They can't. It's such a huge bloody machine. They can't deal with these people.
No, it's a different world, of course.
It's different. It's money. It's business, you know. So they got my pictures. They sell my pictures. Thank you. That's it.
They have your negatives, your films from the previous.
Well, they have. If it's a negative, they have negatives. You know, you know, I was more than once in their archives, David. That is. Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky that they show me things, you know, on a glass, you know, from 1800s. You know, just like. What they have there is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So my stuff is with them. Of course, I have a lot of stuff as well, but I would say, you know, I have some similar stuff. But there was a time when we were shooting a lot of gigs on Fuji 800 neg film, which is really a great film for negs. And negs are much better for the latitude of it. And, you know, then they were making conversions as transparencies, and that was going out to our clients. So a lot of those negatives are with Getty. And they, you know, I don't think they did for quite a long time anything, but, you know, they scan. I suppose time will come again that they go through it and scan it, and you know. So I mean, I'm pleased with Getty. I mean, you know, they're good. The thing is that you're just in there, and your pictures are doing the business. You know, it's not them. The pictures are there, and if they sell, they give me money. What I don't like is. And that kind of changed at the time when I joined them. The way they pay us. They pay us via, doesn't matter what is the system, but basically, because they're American agency, they calculate all their money in dollars, yeah? And then I think it's PayPal or something, doesn't matter. And they send me once a month money to my bank account, but they convert it into pounds that it can go to my bank account. They convert it into the pounds, and obviously every month you lose a lot of money because they don't give a toss. You know, they protect their dollars. So the conversions that they make, I believe I'm losing like 50, 100 quid each month, which obviously piles up, you know. But there's no other way. That's how they do it.
Let me ask you, like I mentioned in the introduction, you were official photographer for some times, for a period of the Rolling Stones, of David Bowie, Spandau Ballet, David Gilmour, Paul McCartney. I know that you love so much the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
Before to go, I will ask you, to who you would like to shoot and you never did? You mentioned in a moment, now it's going to my mind.
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix, exactly.
Yeah, I know what you meant. Well, to be honest with you, considering that I almost shot everybody past 4 decades, it is really about all these guys from the Club 27, which I shot, you know, Amy, unfortunately, is one of those. So, and I, you know, okay, Kurt Cobain, there's a story about Nirvana. That happened like a hurricane, you know, and I only have a couple of shots of Nirvana, believe it or not. That's when I didn't even know who is Nirvana, you know. I just went on Reading Festival, shot this band Nirvana, midday or early afternoon, and on transparency film, and then everything happened so quick that it's unbelievable, you know. Once they wouldn't let me in to the venue to see them. I had a ticket, but they sold too many tickets. So because I was living at the time very close to the venue, I just had a good smoke and, just walked down with my mate because we have a ticket. I don't care. I don't have to go to the front. We just watch from the back. They said, can't get in, so have a bloody tickets. No, but actually at that time I knew that in every ticket it says the management refused the managers keeps the right to refuse the entry.
Oh, fuck.
Every ticket in England
Wow.
would have that written,
Okay.
That means that the fire brigade came and they said that the concert will not go on if they put one more person in because it was overcrowded, and it's the safety before anything else. So they say that you're never gonna go in because they stopped the gig, And it was very unfortunate, but it did happen. Then I had 2 tickets that I still have unused for the Brixton Academy show, and the bugger shot himself dead before that, I wanted to go to Paris to shoot them, and I sorted everything out, but I didn't want to go on my own. And my mate Sasha said, come on, don't be stupid. Why should we go to Paris? They're playing Brixton in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
He didn't listen.
No way. Yeah.
Well, now he's probably, talking to Cobain up there. And I'm telling him the story I'm telling you.
But you may I read somewhere that you mentioned, for example, now you mentioned Cobain, you mentioned Amy, that I know that you showed, we'll talk later. You mentioned Janis Joplin sometimes, you mentioned Jimi Hendrix, you never mentioned Jim Morrison.
No, well, okay. I mean, he's also 27 Club, isn't it? I mean, all these guys, well, I can name them,
No, I mean, I know that you know, but
Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, who else, all these guys. I mean, the reason I'm saying Club 27 is because it's so well known. For me, it doesn't matter club or any shit. It's really the people that I admire, the music,
Yeah.
And, Jim Marshall, guy who's definitely I was looking up to, or what's his name? Woolman. I mean, I have their books, the people who were there from the beginning, shooting for the Rolling Stones, who did all these bloody people that, I just couldn't shoot, including John Lennon. And, that everything happened before my time. So I can't have even regrets. But if somebody asks me, those are the people that I mean, I wish I was there in 60s and 70s, and I had enough.
Sorry, but probably that you will not be here now.
Yeah, probably. You're right. You can't have it all, of course,
Exactly.
I'm only saying, if you go that way, that becomes silly. So, but thanks God, I mean, I have the music of all these people that we mentioned. I love their music, and they still live, with us through their music. So, and there are so many lovely pictures taken that I kind of, like seeing every now and then, and that's it.
Let's keep in the clubs 27. I remember perfectly what happens with Amy. I was not living in Belgrade yet. I was in Barcelona, and I was expecting to go to a music festival excellent in Bilbao, that is the BBK, and it was it was the place where Amy has to play after Belgrade. And after what happened, yes, they changed.
I think Amy was. I was supposed to go to Istanbul with Amy. That was the next.
It was not the next. Was two after, because it was very, very short after. It was very, very short after. And after what happened, they replaced her by Sweat. That I love them so much. It means on that moment, I was quite happy because I love them, but I watched them a lot of times. And then with the time, I am ashamed because I never enjoyed the concert of Amy. I know that you were in the Combank Arena in the time, or Arena, however. How was? Can you tell us something about this concert that you were there on first line somehow?
Well, first of all, she wasn't at the arena. She was in Kalemegdan Donji Grad. You know, it was open air concert.
Wow, in the down in the park.
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay.
That was it was an open air concert. Obviously, Moby was a headliner. Yeah, it was Moby's gig. She was opening up for Moby. You know, basically they brought it to Belgrade just to see how it's working because she had problems and she's back and because she, you know, let's try Belgrade is not important. You know, let's see how it goes.
Okay.
And so there was in Donji Grad, you know, Kalemegdan, the bottom,
Yes.
bottom of Kalemegdan. There was a lot of people, and she was so well protected. And I remember when she was arriving, you know, you couldn't even see her. They drove the car. I know her manager, obviously, he came out, greeted me, and with all these black windows, you know, she went in and nobody could see nothing. It was all well protected because they asked for it, you know.
Yeah.
These two brothers from Macedonia were promoters, Miloševski Boban and his brother, and you know, so I was at the backstage but couldn't see nothing except for the manager. You know, they really kept away. And then the concert was running late, dreadfully late. People were really losing the patience. On the top of everything, I tell you, it's a very interesting story. As soon as I landed in Belgrade, my local phone started ringing. And I didn't even know in the beginning what the hell is going on because everybody was almost cursing me. Whoever phoned up and said, how come you can only shoot Amy? We, you know, need the pictures. And for all different people, magazines or even papers were calling me. Nobody even told me that I'm the only photographer. Usually they let the people shoot the first couple of songs, 3 songs. Everybody goes and then I do my work, you know, as simple as that. But they didn't want photographers, obviously. I only found out later on. I didn't know, you know, and everybody, okay. I just went there and I did something, I think I was quite nice. I promise, I was in touch with the PR here for the concert. And I told him, okay, you tell everybody that I'm going to give them a couple of pictures for nothing of Amy, just that they can have the pictures, you know, because I don't give a toss, you know. I mean, let's have the pictures. It is Belgrade. It is my hometown. Everybody seems to be angry with me, but it's got nothing to do with me. I didn't even know that I'm the only one, you know. And so I decided to do that. I had my techie over there. He was running late. He was coming every minute to tell me they want pictures. They have to close the papers. How can I give you pictures? I mean, she's not there. Then she came out and I didn't even see her. You know, she was falling down all the time. And I'm like in a pit, which is very narrow and very high. Any angle that I choose, I couldn't go onto the stage. Any angle that I choose, you know, going further away, left, I still couldn't see Amy properly to do the pictures. So it took some time, even when she came on, for me to do the pictures. Eventually, I gave him my card. He sent the pictures, and several papers did run the pictures, you know, of it. And that cost me also, you know, when you want to be good, this is what happens. Amy, okay, the gig was disaster, blah, blah, blah. You know, even though I didn't know much about it because the first rows, all the girls are screaming and very happy, you know, just being there, I guess, you know. And later I heard that people are leaving and booing and all that. Anyway, concert was disaster. And obviously I went back to London, and soon after she died. And then the next thing is Rex is calling me to ask me about did I give SIPA Press? Did I give SIPA Press some pictures of Amy? And I said, no, I never. So they have some of your pictures. How did I get them?
Oh.
And I was like, fucking hell. To cut the story short again, basically, I sent pictures to Blitz, for instance. Yeah, Blitz has a deal with Oliver or whatever. They give them the pictures, even though I said, please do not do the pic. And then they exchanged the pictures, so they were just in a system. They gave it to SIPA, blah, blah, blah. But we managed, I don't know, must have been some sale made, but basically, you know, we phoned SIPA, told them, they took them off. The guys from here apologized, you know, the guys from Zagreb apologized. You know, you want to do something good, you're going to get fucked. You know, that's how it works in today's world. Okay, even though it's nobody's fault, you know.
Can I ask you something? Can I ask you a favor? Because I'm sure, what it means, from this concert, there are few photos that impressed me a lot when I saw them. And probably there is people, I mean, of course, I'm sure that the Serbian audience that we have here, they saw those photos. But yeah, can you share with us any one of these photos that you know here, that you shot there, of Amy?
I mean, I have this thing which is famous, you know, I use a couple of pictures to present that concert, if you don't mind. Is that all right? I mean, I got this triptych that I call with which put together.
Beautiful. The triptych is perfect, yes.
All right, so I'm showing like a screen,
yeah, you
share
do
screen, yeah?
Yes, exactly.
Share screen.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yes. Yes, everything is perfect. We see the full folder. Yes. Here it is. I saw it. Yes.
This is the aim, you see. I think, you know,
Brian, can you put it bigger, because they look just the slides. Can you put it bigger, the photo?
This is the biggest. This is all over my screen. I can be bigger.
Okay, then you have to do something with the sharing screen. Close the sharing screen, open sharing screen again, and then choose, because probably it's in a different window.
Your screen. Stop share. Okay.
Yes. Now share again.
Maybe it's this one. Let me try.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. Yes.
This is it. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I must have pressed the wrong screen.
Oh, don't worry. It's not a problem.
Now you see it proper. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they're kind of disturbing pictures, you know. Everybody, you know, I'll tell you the story. I have a good friend lives in Frankfurt, works for the local radio over there. She rang me to tell me, because the picture in the middle was really went around the world. It was viral. And she told me, she went in this HR Dry is called the radio. She went for lunch, and she saw some gathering of people over the table, and they were looking into, as it happened, it was a Stern magazine, which is really, Stern magazine. It's pretty much Stern Life. That's it, the best. Yeah. And she sort of went close to see, and Stern published across the whole page that picture in the middle, Yeah. And people were looking at that picture and crying.
Yeah.
And she phoned me up to tell me that. She was quite taken, you know. She said, they're looking at your picture. They obviously don't know me, or some even do because I went there several times. But they didn't care who took the picture. They were just looking at the picture, really. And then she realized it's my picture, and she rang me to tell me. So, I mean, the picture is striking. I converted this, I have to say, in black and white because I even like it better black and white. It's more dramatic.
Yes.
But it originally taken in color, you know. But somehow these three pictures, even though the image in the middle is probably the most powerful, but you know, I mean, I think these three pictures kind of, they work really, I don't know if the nice is the word, but together, isn't it? You can see the face in the beginning. She's trying to hug herself, you know, being completely lost. And then it's almost the embarrassment at the end, you know, trying to get away from the world, you know, and there's like tens of thousands of people at the front. So it's a very dramatic picture. Yeah.
I will give you my impression when I saw. I mean, I saw these photos before, but
Right.
always in a laptop or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first time when I saw them print. It was in one rock. I don't remember the title of the exhibition. I think that was curated by Anna Maria Barta-Vadian that I mentioned before. It was
Yes, yes.
in Ozone Gallery or Prozor, you know?
I know. I remember. It's quite a big print.
Yes, and also the point is that when you arrive to the door, before to enter, these three photos, they were in the part of one wall that you don't have in front, but is the first thing that you see. And means
Yeah.
I didn't enter. It means I just was like whoosh, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
punched my face. Is wow.
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean, thank you. Thank
to
you. I
you.
don't know. I mean, I was there and, you know, this is what I saw. It's not the nicest stuff, but, you know, I am, at the end, I'm a documentary photographer. So,
It means we would like to don't have these things for shooting, but it's documentary. It's documentary.
you know what? I have to tell you this. Uh, After the concerts, when I was selecting my pictures and sending obviously to Rex at the time, excuse me, the time, I did not put these pictures out at all. When I work with the artist, I'm there to protect them. And I would not compromise either them or my work with them, you know. Uh, Only when Amy died, I thought, I'm going to show it now, you know, because people should see it. Everything that I put up to her death was the nicest pictures I could find. They were not really nice pictures, but you know, she looked decent. And again, because that was my job, I was protective of her. You know, the last thing on my mind was that somebody see a picture like this, say in England, and write, you know, a bad review. You know, I'm not working well with the artist then, am I? You know, you have to be protective. But once when Amy died, I asked myself, should I? And I decided, yes, I think it's time to show those pictures.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it. I think people should see that. I mean, because this
Absolutely.
is what Amy was about. And you look at the poor girl there and you know, you kind of, not nice to say, but it's almost like it wasn't really surprising, you know,
No, obviously,
what happened, you know.
like you say, they test her there somehow. Then, of course, it was
Yeah,
kind of previsible somehow.
yeah.
Okay, then let me say, let's don't go for the happiness yet.
Mhm,
You working for a very long with David Bowie. You
mhm.
You did an excellent exhibition that we saw in Jugoslavenska Kinoteka in Belgrade, and you show it in other places in Serbia, and I think that in Croatia too, probably.
Thank you. Yeah, we had in Croatia, in Zagreb, and Rijeka, and Rovinj.
I suppose that with him you had a kind of close relation. Means you were something else. Means you were not just taking photos from the distance, of course.
With David, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, it's, I mean, I kind of knew David before I started doing the pictures, you know, and I was quite close on occasions, obviously only when it came to my work. I remember I was with the Tin Machine in Copenhagen in Denmark for the very first European show. And there was a party afterwards. I was with David, and you know, it was good to be with David because you know you could pull any girl, really. You know, it's crazy. Yeah. And David was fun. You know, it was always fun. And what I remember is like really kind of laughter. You know, he would just laugh very often. And very kind of positive, you know, positive character. And then, you know, I work with him, and he would just say, Brian, you know, this is my new image. Nobody saw it. Let's have a picture, you know, before I go on stage. So I take the picture, you know. Sometimes it doesn't really work as you would want, but you know that if you don't do it there and then, it's not going to happen because he's going on stage. So sometimes I took a pictures which are almost like a snapshot, but considering it's David Bowie new image and, you know, anything works, you know, and you put those pictures, that's what the world wants to see, you know, and you had the gig pictures, job done, you know. So he was really very nice guy.
Can you sorry, can you unshare the screen that we have still Amy here?
Do you want David? Here's David.
Yeah, you can put any of David that you, yeah, I mean, yes.
This is the first shot I ever took of David, you know.
White Duke, the White Duke.
Yeah, this is the time when he came back from a really bad period in his life. This is 1983. And that's the world press for Let's Dance album at the Claridge's Hotel. And he, you know, he was like, you can see, he was so nice and happy and everything. And before that, he was Thin White Duke, you know, really, he wasn't in the best of shapes, you know, at the end of 70s, you know. And then he went away, changed the record company from RCA, went to EMI, and this was the first album he put out, Let's Dance, which is the best-selling album ever of David Bowie, and is the album that he doesn't like at all, you know.
I was reading a biography by him, and yes, but I always read that because you look him is a beautiful guy. I mean, beautiful in the,
yes,
not in the sense of
you
the
know,
himself.
He's got his own teeth. That's his own teeth.
Yeah.
Later on, he's got better teeth, but this is David's proper teeth.
Yes, but I always read that he always had problems with the paying to the musicians because the companies were paying him and the companies were paying to the musicians, and they were always very badly paid, or at least until 90 something.
Honestly, David, I don't really know anything about it. All I know is you know, the people that he worked with until the very end. And I would say most of the times since I started, since I was really doing him, the people who just adore him, love him. And if he was a bastard, probably they wouldn't. I don't know.
No, I don't say that he was a bastard, of course.
No. I know. I mean, I wasn't trying to put the words in your mouth. I'm just thinking, you know, it's not really nice, is it?
Yeah.
If, you know, you're getting money and you're musicians without whom, obviously, it wouldn't be working. That's why, not call him a name, but,
Of course.
you know, but I honestly, I don't know, you know.
How
This
many
is
years?
not,
How many years you were with him, working with him?
ooh, funny thing is, I don't really know. You see, I always remember the Rolling Stones. It's easy because, you know, they took me to Rio de Janeiro for their biggest gig ever. You know, that was my first gig, and I know uh, it was February 2006. With David, I think it was a bit longer. It was a bit longer when but you know, he was living in New York. He wasn't coming very often to Britain or Europe. He kind of likes, he doesn't like flying. So he would always take a QE2, you know, which takes time across the ocean and things like that. And also I have to say, in the 80s, I've done a lot of traveling, you know, in Southeast Asia and everything. And I missed some gigs that I would have been there for. You know, I'm thinking like, God, I mean, how come I didn't do that? And, you know, some time ago. And I said, of course, you know, I wasn't there. I was in Thailand. You know, when I make decision to travel, which I love, then I don't care about the music. You know, you don't make. I never made plans. I made plans to travel, and then I take off. I'm there for half a year, and I come back and I listen to what happened. Well, for instance, when he was playing Glastonbury, I just didn't bother going to Glastonbury that year. I thought I'll have a break, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, things happen. So I didn't do some, but I've done a lot of work, you know, a lot of work with him. And well, basically since 1983. But together, I don't know. I mean, reality tour and everything, you know, whenever that was. Of course, I was there, but I've done it even before then. And it doesn't matter, but you know, there was a few years. I'll show you some
Yes, of
pictures
course.
because they're there. You know,
Yes.
this is in America, taken in Boston. This is London. This is London Astoria, very small gig. This is Royal Festival Hall when he was curating. You know, the musicians were playing for for a week. He had people that he's chosen to play, and then at the end he done this gig on his own, which is very unique because he played the first part of the gig. He only played the Low album,
Okay.
uh, you know, from the beginning to the end, and the second part it was like the greatest hits. See, this is my David, the Eurostar. Obviously, he didn't fly to Paris. He was going
Of
to
course.
Paris.
Imagine.
You know, that Eurostar, he was quite lucky because eventually the Eurostar asked me to give them this picture for the something world exhibition of trains in Paris some years ago, you know. And they asked me for that, but they said they don't have money. I said, oh, yeah, you do have money. How about some free tickets for Eurostar? I said, oh, yeah, no worries. So, I mean, I went to Paris once, first class, and to Brussels once. I remember, you know, first class. And they said, we said, well, there's nothing free today, is it?
Of course. Of course.
So thankfully to David, you see, I mean, I was writing free stuff first class. Nice. Yeah. Okay, this is, I like this picture, you know, that's, I think, Copenhagen, also beginning of the tour. This is before, this is the Astoria gig I just mentioned in that purple sweater, you know, when these two came backstage to see his mate. When he died, Pete Townsend put this picture on Who website. Oh, we're done with David, are we? Okay.
You can show us others. It means it's a pleasure for us, of course. Until when did you shot David Bowie?
Well, you know, whatever was the last thing, I think it's probably, oh my God, when was that? Maybe that Royal Festival Hall was the last thing, because he didn't do anything afterwards. You know, that when he was curating, he came to London, and he went to Paris, did a gig over there, and I think he went back to America. The only thing that I know, which is not that well known, is in 2006, David came to Europe incognito.
Okay.
I was doing the Hyde Park and later Glastonbury, the Rolling Stones in Hyde Park. And I've been told that David wanted to see the Stones.
Okay.
But he insisted, which is quite normal, insisted that he wanted to be on a side of a stage, that he's not going to be seen, right?
Yes.
Unfortunately, that old oak tree, as they called the stage at the Hyde Park for the British Summertime Festival, it's all like huge screens, you know, everywhere around. And there was no, I know because I was there on stage, and for Carole King, for many artists that I work for, you know, I'm there on stage and there's no one on stage because of the screens. Yeah. You know, if I'm working there, of course, you know, I can mingle and sort of, but nobody could go on stage, and David obviously didn't go to see them. Apparently there is a picture, somebody spotted him in Venice and took a picture that year in 2006. So I think that was even before 2006 when I shot him last. Because he wasn't coming to London. He was living, you know, my very, very old girlfriend from Germany, her daughter was living in the same building in New York where David was living. And she was telling me every now and then she would meet him, and, you know, she would say hello, and, you know, a short chat, like neighborly chat. He was very pleasant to the people, you know, if obviously, you know, you're living in the same building, so neighborly kind of love.
Of course. And then, of course, it happens what happens. I remember because I was in London the day when he passed away. I just bought this Black Star album that is incredible, and it looks like he did the album and then he thought, he's done, it's my time.
Yeah.
Did you knew that he was so bad on that time?
No, look, the thing is, how do I stop share? Let me stop share.
Yes.
It's all right now, is it?
Yes, yes. Now I cannot drink a beer. The people will see me drinking the beer.
Yes, why not? Well, basically, what I heard, and I know things are true. Maybe some of them I even known. I don't know. I mean, he knew that he's basically dying, you know, and according to the musicians, he told them, but they had to swear that they're never gonna tell anyone what they know, you know. Therefore, they recorded the Black Star album knowing that David is not well, and you know. So in London, we didn't really know much. You see, the main people for David Bowie that I know, Coco Schwab, his personal assistant, who also died, and obviously I believe she was known as a bitch, really. She was a kind of tough woman, even though, again, I didn't have problems with her. You know, I could argue with her in a positive manner and get what I want. But she must have been good, because I know for certain that David left her when he died. He left $1 million. So Coco was always there with him, whatever he was doing. The other thing, the other people that I know is Alan Edwards, my kind of really dear friend. I just exchanged some emails with him today. It's Alan Edwards is a very famous PR that I've known since 1980. And he's extremely wonderful person. He is PR to David. He was working with the Rolling Stones, I think in the 80s, and he's still working with The Who, with Naomi Campbell, with David Beckham, you know, Spice Girls. He had the big clients. That's what I'm trying to say. So, you know, I kind of could get things from Alan. Also, there's Julian, who is directly working. I mean, Alan is the boss of outside organization. Julian Stockton is the guy who is closer. He does things with him. He's also good mate. And there is Mark Adams. Mark Adams is the guy, Total Blam Blam. He's the guy who was taking care of his website, you know, and he's a good mate and a really, really nice guy. So those people, I kind of knew them, and I knew what's going on, basically, you know. And Mark, in particular, is really, really good. I mean, he's everywhere. I suppose when in England, he's everywhere. He also take pictures, and he does good pictures, but he doesn't have a professional camera, you know. And he puts those on the website, and is really, really a great guy. And you know, that's like above his family. Comes to the, if you want business, and not all of it. Obviously, he's got manager and all that. He's American. I don't even know him. But these are the people that I know around Bowie, and that is my world, that I would, you know, if I need something or need to know. Mark Adams, for instance, rang me. That's when I used to have my website, which was hacked, and I didn't bother to make another one. That's why we have this picture, this Facebook thing, right? But Mark once rang me and he said, Brian, you know, David, as you know, loves your work, and he would like to share your website, to put a link on his website. But he asked me for one thing, if you don't mind. I said, yeah, sure. What was that? He said, you know, there's this picture that he doesn't like. And I said, oh, I think I know the picture. And I was right, you know. And I said, don't worry, I'm just gonna take it off now. And for a long time, maybe even now, you know, there is a link, but unfortunately there's no website anymore, which was a really cool thing to do, you know, really cool thing to do. There was a picture where, you know, he made some kind of face, which I thought is a different picture. He didn't look bad. I mean, I would argue with him that it's a good picture. But if the man himself didn't like that one picture, of course I knew which one, because it's different. And if he didn't like, there was no point, you know. I mean, it's easier to take it off. And it didn't mean much to me. You know, sometimes you just say, okay, maybe this is a bit different from, you know, your ordinary picture there. It just went like, you know, made this grimace, which I like, but he didn't, bless him.
And of course, I mean, he's in the photo. You cannot argue with him because he take a different point. He's the model there. Also,
Yes, yes,
everybody
yes,
loves
yes.
the
Yeah.
photo, and it's a
No,
great.
but you know, when I said argue, I would probably the way I see it, I would probably point out the way I see the picture as a photographer and explain to him that there's nothing bad about that picture because it wouldn't be there
Of
if
course.
it's bad, you know. And I would like to believe that David probably would say, "Okay, I understand, but still take it off.
Of
Still
course.
take it off."
Well, you can say yes or not, of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me make you. Let's go to be finishing. We are 2 hours instead of one, but it's a pleasure to listen, and I'm sure that everybody has been enjoying so much. I'm going to make you another question. Then I will
Thank
read
you.
a question that we have here from some of our viewers. Uh,
Okay.
the question now is: we know how much it changed from the 80s, from the 90s, from the 2000 to today. Can you give any kind of suggestion to somebody who is starting photos in the gigs, in the concerts? Of course,
It's one word.
sorry, the first one I will do it. I will do it for you. Just make a fake accreditation to enter for free.
You know, I would say for that, one word: don't.
Okay.
Don't. Um, you know, I mean, obviously, I would never seriously tell anybody not to to do or try to do what they like. Uh, but we have to remind ourselves that I'm a professional photographer, that everything I own, I made with my work in photography. Apart from those things I told you, this Rheingold Club that I worked for the 3 months, you know, I never worked nothing else but, you know. And if it wasn't for my um old work, which is digital now, and it's selling, you know, nobody's making no money on this no more. I have colleagues that are suffering, and I'm not talking Corona. I'm talking business before Corona. Corona finished it off, I think, basically, you know, because not only music business, but no business can stop for 2, 3, God knows how many months, you know. Or, you know, now the concerts, the festivals in Britain canceled, you know, the God knows when they're going to start concerts again. Then I don't expect Americans to come to Europe anytime soon, you know. Therefore, there's nothing to photograph.
Brian, let me tell you, I was wishing for a happy ending story, but
Well,
no, but
you know,
let me tell you something. One time I was in a talk by William Klein, and somebody asked to him, one young boy asked to him, he is really old, poor man. He was there talking was very nice, and then
right.
one young boy asked to him, okay, can you give any suggestion for somebody who is young and want to be a street photographer? And what he said was, guy, go and marry a rich girl.
Well, that's okay. Yeah. Well, I could have said something funny as well,
I
but
understand.
unfortunately, you know, I'm kind of realistic.
Probably, probably.
First of all, you know, there's nothing to photograph, and honestly, my colleagues, a lot of people are suffering. A lot of people are suffering now because they simply can't work, you know, and like I said, um, you know, we kind of came to the world in which we are all photographers, right? Because of the telephones, you know, digital photography made things so much easier. Because back in the days of analog photography, you really, you know, wanted to be a photographer, you know, and it was a choice not of many. It was choice of, I don't have to call us special or different, but you know, we were certain individuals who really have their reasons why we went that direction to be a photographer. Yeah. And then, you had to learn the tricks of the trade and most of all to learn, as an analog photographer, obviously, I processed my black and white films. I made my black and white prints, and I know the technology. I know how it works, because without that, you wouldn't call yourself a photographer, would you, David? It's a normal thing. Now, things are different. Not necessarily they're bad or even worse, if you want, but that approach to the photography where everybody can, people take bloody brilliant pictures, we see it every day, some of them didn't even know that they have it in them, but now with the phone, they take pictures, they put them in, there's fantastic stuff around, even at the concerts, people film, they do, meaning that thing that I say, everybody's a photographer, really sort of watered down the value of photography. That is the main problem. Yeah. Not that we all can take the pictures, but as a professional, you know that people are not paying you as they used to. I'll give you, for instance, the example of the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones, when I work with them, they never paid, I don't know, a lot of money. But without mentioning the amount of money, I can tell you this. Until a few years ago, there was basically 3 photographers in the world who would call themselves Rolling Stone photographers. Kevin Mazur, who is covering States, Dave Hogan, and myself in England. And we would do the Europe usually. Sometimes me, sometimes him, sometimes both of us. And then basically, talking about the money. So every time when I shoot the gig, you go to the accountant, he counts the dollars, brand new under the hammer, and gives you money. You just sign a piece of paper, you put it in your pocket. Like I said, it wasn't a lot of money, but I'm not talking, I don't know, like by Serbian standards. I'm talking about, European standards. It wasn't big money, but what I'm trying to tell you, since a few years back, don't ask me when, they found a different kind of way dealing with photographers. Wherever they go, which is obviously nice, there's nothing wrong with it, especially from their point. Wherever they go, they ask the local promoter, who is your best photographer in the city or wherever, right? And they say, yeah, I got this guy, ask him if he wants to do the Rolling Stones whole show for us. Yeah, I mean, do you know anybody who would say no to that? Just to shoot the bloody show for nothing, you would do it. And then when Mick Jagger changed, Lisa Fisher as a singer, Tony King as a PR, when he put new PR, when his manager became the Rolling Stones manager as well, and things like that, things starting working a little bit different. Meaning that from that not so much money that I was getting, every photographer around the world, wherever they play, I mean, they don't play many gigs, they had like 10 gigs in America that never happened, but, so it's not a big deal. 10 photographers will shoot 10 shows, but they would get approximately 6 times less money than what they were paying me and the other 2 guys. 6 times less. And everybody's still happy because they shot the Rolling Stone, which if anybody can understand that, I do.
Yeah, of
You
course.
know, wouldn't you be happy? And you get some money on the top of everything, you know. Before that, it was business.
Yeah.
It was business.
Yeah.
And now even the Stones made it that it's a little bit like, I don't know, it's things for the fans, you know. But, you know, I don't think it's bad. I think it's all right. Everybody, you know, everybody's saving money. I think, and having said that, uh, you know, we are all different. And these guys who are shooting the shows, they're brilliant photographers. They wouldn't recommend them some, you know, whatever, but the best. They have different picture. It all makes sense, you know. I mean, I know the guy from Slovenia, for instance, who shot a few shows for them. He's a bloody brilliant photographer. He's a good mate of mine. But imagine, I mean, he's Slovenian. He's an official Rolling Stone photographer. I mean, it's great stuff. You know, people, they're making people happy. Uh, and, you know, but it's different. I, I think it's totally fine, but it's different. You know, I just got, as they say, the last train. Because when I was a Rolling Stones photographer, you know, there's only like 3 of us in the whole bloody world, you know. Now it's a bit different. We're still special. It doesn't matter, you know. I mean, some people shoot the Rolling Stones once and they think, you know, of course it's a big deal. Of course it's a big deal. You know, they're the biggest rock band on the planet. And of course it's a big deal. I don't even know how many shows I shot, you know. And it's still big deal to me too, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there, I've done that, you know. You can't go to the moon twice.
Yeah.
You know, that's as simple as, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, then let me go to the last question that is from Imre Zabo. You know him perfectly well.
Who?
Yes, Imre Zabo.
Oh, Imre. Hello, Imre, you listening?
Okay, he has something that also when you were talking about, I was also interested. That is, the question exactly is, can you take some of your negatives from Getty to scan them for yourself?
Absolutely.
I mean, you
Tell
can
me,
answer them, please send me back the negatives if you want.
let me see. I just want to put the pictures. Is the picture okay now?
Yes, now we have Mick Jagger and Keith Richards.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'd rather, you know, people look at some pictures, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, yes, I'm the owner of my work, not Getty. You know, it's only there because they sort of support. They're supposed to do that. First of all, they're you know, keeping it at the excellent place. You know, their archive is unbelievable. I mean, really unbelievable. It's a state of art because they moved from the old archives, I think, like maybe 3-4 years ago, and it's a brand new place in East London. It's just unbelievable, really. I mean, you know, you kind of feel proud to be there, you know. So the answer, Imre, is yes. I'm the sole owner of my pictures, and I can do whatever I want with my pictures.
They have probably the rights in exclusivity for selling them. Ito, and that's all.
Yes, they would not probably like. I mean, you know, private sales are fine, and you know, even the when I say private, I mean if magazine call me to sell them this picture that we're looking at, I can do that. Nobody can stop me, and they probably wouldn't even know because it's nothing. You know, they're a huge company; they don't give a toss. But you know, you play within the rules. I mean, the rules are that you know, you can't give it to the other agents, even though I get some money. I mean, silly money every night. But then again, you know, sometimes I get a few hundred quid as well from Rex because my pictures are everywhere around the world with their clients, and they still sell them. If somebody see it there, they're gonna, so they pay me for that. So I get once a month things from Rex as well, you know.
That's good. Wow, super.
Yeah. As my kid, this is from Munich, you know, people love this picture. I mean, I like it too, but it's more important what the others do. This is Mick in Paris, not long ago. This is in London. Obviously, some of these things, you know, you can see that is a special access. This is in Paris as well.
I see
this
here,
is the
for example, you have a special access, of course.
Yeah, this is the concert they did for one guy. I mean, millionaire who paid them money. You know, Mogador Theatre, which is funnily enough built by British people in the middle of Paris, and it looks like a very nice British venue. You know, because they're very similar in Britain. These kind of theaters. You know. Yes. And he just asked his mates to come, and they played the full set for there. This is in Italy, Keith, at this Roman circus a few years ago. This is in Brazil, obviously in Rio de Janeiro, at the end of the show. This is also a very important picture. That is when Mick's wife, Lorraine, committed suicide. They kicked off the tour from Oslo in Norway. And they sort of needed a picture to show that Mick is all right, you know. Yeah. And this picture, you know, when I shoot for the Rolling Stones, I mean, they take my cards, they upload them, you know, it's a system, obviously. Yeah. And I mean, not all the time. And sometimes at the end, there was, but on an occasion like this, when they need the picture, and it has to be pronto, as soon as possible, you know, they let me to shoot the first 3-4 songs, and I took out the cards, gave it to them at the end of a concert. When I went there, said, Brian, you've done it. The picture is viral already. And you got the picture within, I think, first couple of songs, you know, because this is like what Mick is all about. And Keith is there. And I love in particular because Keith is actually, you know.
It's perfect. It's excellently framed, the photo.
And at the front, yeah, you know, it's good. So they're very happy with that shot. This is also this Sweet Summer Sun in England, 2006. They used that for the artwork, this picture. You know, that was a resemblance to the concert they done in 69 at the same place. They've done the Hyde Park in 69 and 2006, you know. You know, because Brian Jones died or got killed, depending who do you listen to. You know, you remember that, not that you remember, but Mick Jagger put a box of butterflies to fly at the beginning of the gig. And this is like something to remind on that. This is Rome, Mick and Keith. This is in London, obviously Ronnie and Charlie, who were promoting some girls at the back. You see the cover in Dorchester Hotel. I've done a little session with them. This is this is as bad as, you know, they used that picture some years ago. They used it in the GQ magazine, you know, it's a top man magazine. And they used that Happy New Year, Keith. But that's Keith, isn't it? I mean, even though I don't like the sunglasses, but you can't ask Keith to take the sunglasses off. I'm sorry, you know, what is there is there. Because probably the night before or whatever, he would just ask me, son, I'm not taking my glasses off, period. That's it. This is the Rolling Stones exactly on the day of their 50th anniversary in London. I shot that picture. Yeah. They had exhibition in a gallery in London, and I had the lights and waiting for them. You know, the session lasts between 30 seconds and 1 minute if you're lucky. And, I think it's a very nice picture. I mean, I got two different shots, basically, that were approved. This is in London. All I remember, the whole lot with the good Lisa Fisher on the left. I love her and miss her so much. And obviously, the late God, I mean, I'm not going to say his name, the guy with the beret, second from the left, who plays saxophone, the guy who was born the same date, month, and year as Keith Richards. They're soul brothers,
Okay.
Whatever his name is. And here we are back to Amy. There's Frank Sinatra. Show you some more pictures. This is another famous picture I took. Cream, Clash from 1980. Original lineup with the Topper at the drums, this is John Lydon, Peel, Eurythmics from 1980. This is what I was doing in 1980. And I thought, what the fuck I'm doing in London, doing all these pop bands and all this shit. I was Led Zeppelin guy and Rolling Stones and all that. But after so many years, it was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful time. Eurythmics, good band, really. Annie Lennox, Kate Bush, Chuck. This is from 1980, and this picture I call the Rolling Stones. You know why? You know why? Basically, especially in the beginning, not so much later in the career, but basically, Rolling Stones are based on the music of Chuck Berry and Muddy Waters.
Yes.
That's why I called it. This is very rare picture, two of them together, and obviously they're in heaven now. David, I think up there in heaven, the concerts probably still happening, and they're much better than down on earth these days. With a few,
almost sure.
With a few examples, This is the Queen, obviously original Queen with Freddie Mercury. There is a Queen and Prince, they're all gone.
Yes.
You see, I'm quite right what I'm telling you. Look at all these people jamming up there in the sky. Whitney Houston singing, not bad. Michael Hutchins.
Another one, yes.
Alvin Lee, 10 years after. Ringo is still with us, bless him. This wanker is still with us. Police. This is, I went to Vancouver to shoot the first show of their tour when they, they got together the second time around. Yes. Oh, this is Brian Adams when he was young. He's, I won't tell you, never mind.
Okay.
This is Quintina. Rihanna, Duran from early 80s, the original lineup, Kaja Gugu, this is like pop stuff. This is my session with Aha.
Yeah, this is your client, like a proper photo session. It means like a proper photo session.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I've done those too. The only thing is that the concept pictures is kind of more attractive. This is stuff which was we were selling that for good money, But this session in particular, I think it was in 1980, either 1983 or 4. I don't know exactly when they were on. But why I know is that I've done a session with Aha as a favor to the record company executive. She said, I got this Norwegian band. Nobody wants to know about them. Nobody wants to talk to them, and I have a whole bloody day.
Okay.
Can you help me? And I said, what do I want to do? Do whatever you want. I said, can I take them to the studio? Because of course you can. So I took them to the Rexy studio. They used to have a studio within the premises. Nice, huge studio. And I was together with another photographer, Il Pomasto, my friend at the time. And we spent the whole afternoon with them, took the pictures, black and white, color, everything. And then soon after, I remember I mentioned traveling. I went to Southeast Asia, probably spent at least half a year there in Thailand and beautiful places. And when I came back, David, aha, were number one with Take On Me.
Yes.
These pictures were selling like hotcakes. It is almost like I won the lottery, you know. Now I'm exaggerating. Don't think,
Yes.
you know, people think when you talk these things, you're making millions. No.
No, of course.
You make a good money because it's the pictures, you know. We make money selling loads of pictures. And then comes a picture that everybody wants. So you sell it many times, you make a little by little, and there's a lot of money, you know, whatever that means. But what I remember comes to this picture. Bravo magazine,
I remember the
which I was contributed to already. Okay, I'll tell you about Bravo magazine. They, at that time, and before everything went, you know, bad, Bravo was simply the biggest selling magazine on the planet Earth. They were bi-monthly magazine, and they were selling 2 million copies every fortnight, 4 million a month. And this picture came out as a poster in Bravo. And me being Serbian, this is how I was thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes. I remember around the time, I remember all these bands that they came out at the same time, because this is my time somehow.
Right.
And you know, I like more these bands when I listen them now than when I listen them on the time.
Look, I'll tell you something. I'm looking at that picture and I'm thinking, 2 million copies of 2 million copies sold with my poster. 2 million. Let's say 10% of the girls who like them, which makes how much? 200,000.
Mm-hmm.
Put this picture on their wall.
Yes.
So I'm talking to me. Probably there's 200,000 beautiful girls around the world, in Germany most than anywhere else, obviously, who are having my picture on their wall. And I was very happy. It wasn't about money, you know. I was very happy. You think, because I was the guy who was having posters on the wall, David, you know, back in the 70s, you know. I like my posters on the wall. So I'm thinking, now they're putting my poster on the wall. I must have done something right, you know. And that was in the beginning of my career. So that's how it works.
Okay, let me make you the last question, because it came another question by somebody that probably you know. The name is Ivica Drusani, if I said well. The question is, the point is, he posts, Brane, how do you keep your photo archive at your computer? Is it just a bunch of photos in folders, or do you use some catalog software? I know the answer, but
it's hard drives, isn't it?
But you are using this platform. This was how is the name? You told me the software that you
come again. Sorry.
Yes, the software that you are using to how to say, to put in order your photos that you use to show us this photo.
Ah, that's Photo Mechanic.
Okay.
Okay. Just Photo Mechanic.
Okay.
You know, and obviously I got Lightroom. You know, some people use Photo Station. I use Lightroom to deal with my pictures, but Photo Mechanic is for, you know, viewing it, and you can work on Photo Mechanic. But I use Lightroom mainly, you know, and everything is on the hard drives. And I double everything. So, I mean, basically, if I'm, you know, doing, I have 2 hard drives identical, because maybe one is going to stop working.
Of course.
Yeah.
And so I will tell you what, don't put them together, because if you have a problem with at home, it will happen to both. Okay.
Yeah. That's another thing. I know. So you put one in one part, the other in the other part. That's why you have 2. That's right.
I will tell you, I have some things that they have in 3 hard disks, the most important things. And last time when I went back to Barcelona, to my mom's place, I leave one there, you know. Then I have 2 hard disks in Belgrade and I have one in Barcelona with the most important things.
Okay. Yeah. No, you have to be careful. And you know what? Going back, we spoke about it earlier on. You know, Getty has it as well.
Of course.
You know, so it's important. It's important, you know. They have many of my work for as long as you know it's there. It will be selling and job done. You know, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much for this time. It has been a pleasure to listen all the stories and your experience.
Is anybody still listening to us? I can't believe it's.
Yes, we have it. We have still people there, poor people. Yes, we have. I mean, it looks like.
You know, I'm sorry to everybody that went that long, but I hope you know you enjoyed at least some of it. You know.
It means if they are there, it's because they enjoy it, of course.
Good. Well, at the end, you know, thank you again for asking me for this. I enjoyed it, you know, and thanks for everybody who was listening to us, and you know, have a good life, and finger to Corona.
Exactly. Same. Okay. See you around soon.
All right. Thank you, David. Bye everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, wait a second. Just to say that thank you very much for being here all the time. It has been long, but I think that we all enjoy quite a lot this talk with Brian. And I just want to say for ending that next talk will be on Monday. Will be with Imre Zabo. We are going to do it on Monday because it's a very specific day for the talk that we are going to have. Monday is the 40th anniversary of the death of Tito. And then the point is that on that day, on Monday, it's supposed that we have to open the exhibition of Imre in Cuaca, being part of Belgrade Photo Month Festival. I was the curator of the exhibition. Then, cause of the corona, that we cannot have the exhibition, unfortunately. We're going to do a talk with Imre. It was the period when he was starting to work like a photojournalist. We're going to talk about his experience. We're going to show the photos, and we're going to talk about how was this period of the particular life in Serbia, in Yugoslavia, let's say. Okay, thank you very much for all your time, and see you on Monday. Thank you.